Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Dee Dee. We are the hilarious outcome of opposing brains sharing a mutual desire to share knowledge and positive thinking about hemp and cannabis.
We are here to tear down the walls built by Big Pharma and other big companies that seek to keep the human race in fear and divided.
We are here to shatter the myths about hemp and cannabis and change the stigma of this amazing plant. Welcome to Hemp and Happiness with the Hemp Queen
And Emperor
podcast. Join us as we venture into this misunderstood and the unknown. Hey, happy hempsters. Thanks for joining us on this interesting podcast that we love to do and to share our knowledge of things with you. So thanks for hanging in there and checking out our temporary studio. We will be moving to a permanent location soon. I can't wait.
It's coming.
It is coming slowly. If you all don't know, we are getting ready to open a second location over in Indiana in Clarksville. It will be 812 Hemp, and we will have most of, if not all, the same amazing products that 502 Hemp has, just in a different label change, of course. But we're pretty excited about that, and that's where we will be broadcasting our future podcast. But as for now, Matt is sweet and lets us use his basement studio. So thank you again for joining us. You know, you can
I'm a giver. It's because I'm a giver.
Yeah, buddy. You can always send emails, and if there's a topic that you'd like for us to talk about, send it to info@502hemp.com. We are more than happy to take suggestions because sometimes I am at a loss as to what we shall talk about. So without further ado, take it away, Matt.
That's kind of like when you go to the grocery store.
I always have a list.
And you're like, well, yes.
I do.
There's the list people and the non-list people. And list is for sure. Even with the list, though, I'm
sometimes.
Like, yeah, I got it all. And then no. But
I never send my husband to the grocery without a list because every time that man goes, he comes back with more stuff that I'm like, we did not need this.
But even when I have a list, though, I'll get back and I'm like, oh, I guess I don't need eggs, or
Yeah.
Well, I do have some like old almond milk in the cabinet.
Ew.
I guess it's okay. Hey, I like almond milk.
I can't do the raw almonds. It makes me sicker than a dog.
Well, anyway. Okay. So, peoples, today's podcast is about wellness. And I think it's actually a very important podcast because wellness is something that we are all about. Our stores, our wellness centers, our pursuit of CBD, cannabis, and what we represent is really focused around wellness. And there's a whole lot of people out there that really don't understand really what wellness is. And that's not an ignorance thing. That is a societal phenomena. Wellness has kind of been removed, which is why we fight so hard to bring that back. And
there's so many reasons for that too.
There is a lot of reasons, and it's definitely there's definitely the programming aspect of it and the consumerism aspect of it.
Well, just big pharma in general, they want you sick so they can keep charging you.
Well, yeah, but there's also a lot we do ourselves
that hinder our wellness
to pull away from our wellness and our pursuits. We easily, we can blame the powers that be all day long, and we'd be right.
But we also have free choice.
We build our own cages. Yes. We set our own traps for ourselves. It's been that way forever.
I know, I do it. Right. I sabotage myself all the stinking time.
Right. So, and we're gonna touch on the history of wellness and the origin of wellness, but there's actually an organization out there called the World Wellness Institute. I would highly recommend the website to you all. It is in the show notes. Very interesting, very profound. Not really a whole lot of extreme detail, but a lot of very awakening facts that really make you think about yourself, your wellness, and your well-being, which is another thing we're going to touch on, the difference between wellness and well-being, because they're actually not, they're interrelated but not the same. So to dive right in, I'm actually just going to read a quote from the Global Wellness Institute on the definition of wellness, because when I read it, I don't think I could write it any better than
I'm so proud you can read.
than they wrote it. So yeah, so I'm just gonna read other people's shit
It's
this
okay.
episode.
It's perfectly fine. I plan on doing the same thing in the next one.
No, I'm not gonna. This is the only thing I'm gonna recite. Although a lot of the resources do come from this website, this is the only thing I'm gonna directly quote. So the definition of wellness, according to the Global Wellness Institute, is: there are two important aspects to this definition. First, wellness is not a passive or static state, but rather an active pursuit that is associated with intentions, choices, and actions as we work together, as we work toward an optimal state of health and well-being. Second, wellness is linked to holistic health, that is, extends beyond physical health and incorporates many different dimensions that should work in harmony. Wellness is an individual pursuit. We have self-responsibility to our own choices, behaviors, and lifestyles, but it is also significantly influenced by our physical, social, and cultural environments in which we live. Wellness is often confused with terms such as health, well-being, and happiness. While there are common elements among them, wellness is distinguished by not referring to a static state of being, i.e., being happy, being in good health, or a state of well-being. Rather, wellness is associated with an active process of being aware and making choices that lead towards an outcome of optimal holistic health and well-being. Wellness is different from healthcare. Our healthcare systems use pathogenic and reactive approaches focused on causes, consequences, diagnoses, and treatment of diseases or injuries. In contrast, wellness is a salutogenic and proactive approach focused in prevention, healthy lifestyles, and the pursuit of optimal well-being. Ultimately, a solid foundation for wellness helps us prevent and overcome disease both at present and in the future. And that is the last time I'll print something in gray because that was super hard to read.
And you just made fun of me about having it in a big font on my phone so I can see.
That is my karmic butt spank.
That is.
But
Thanks,
anyway,
karma.
You all got the point.
I love karma.
And for all of those who don't know, because I didn't know before this podcast, salutogenic is a holistic wellness approach on taking good health before it becomes an issue.
Which makes sense.
Not waiting till there's a problem and say, there's a problem, I got to fix it.
Right.
I
mean, how do you prevent type 2 diabetes?
Right, by not getting it.
Exactly. Right.
By doing the things you do not to get it.
Exactly.
So hopefully that kind of sets the stage. And this is a concept that has started thousands of years ago. And it's every bit as important today as it was then. And the interesting thing about the history of it is as societies evolve, each society kind of reaches a point where everyone has said, hey, our evolution is overcoming our wellness, and we need to pull that in and rein that in, especially with the knowledge we're accumulating. And just to give you a couple examples here, the Chinese have a lot of different wellness philosophies. The most profound, at least to me, would be the Tao, which is very hard to define, but very similar to the other Eastern and Western philosophies of being one with nature, coexisting with nature and the natural order of things, and accepting change as a constant, bringing that into you as a micro and macro evolution of the universe within the self.
Right.
And that's, I know that's kind of profound and out there, but then you have yoga. And the yoga,
into it.
well, the yoga philosophy started almost identically, and it started actually as a kind of a religious, the Hindu religion founded yoga. But yoga is actually a philosophy. It's an act, but it's a philosophy in itself. So just to read you a little caption here, a Hindu theistic philosophy reaching the suppression of all activity of body and mind, and will in order that the self may realize its dysfunction from them and attain liberation. That is a loose definition of yoga. On the Western side, we had we have logos. Logos is what actually then was adopted by the Christian faith and philosophy as well. Very similar and parallel to the philosophical circulation of the relation of you to the universe, you to your well-being, you to the environment around you, you to the society around you. It started out as logos, was then adopted by the Stoics, the Greek philosophers. After that, it was adopted by Christian philosophers, as the logos was the personification of, well, Christ was the personification of logos in the Christian religion. So anyway, it's the same concept, different flavors,
Right.
and it's appeared all around the world in almost mirror-like parallel.
Makes sense.
So my inclination is, okay, so if these general philosophies, if you break them down to their core, they're all exactly the same, happened all around the world, all different climates, conditions, societal parameters, there's probably something to this, right? I mean, this is probably an important part of our existence that we need to pay attention to.
Oh, for sure.
And we're losing that. So
I think your wellness in general will just keep you from becoming a statistic in American medicine.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
100%.
talking about the yoga, I have slacked on that so bad. Now, I still hit the gym. I'm doing more cardio than I am weightlifting, which I know I need to get back to the weightlifting as well. But I have really slacked on the yoga. And John and I were talking about that the other day. I'm like, I really need to get back into that. And he's like, you do. I feel better when I do it. I don't know why I stopped.
Right.
I think you just get in those, you fall out of your routines, because I am very much a routine type person. And I was doing it in the morning before work. And I think once that kind of dropped off, I was starting to get back into the store, earlier and earlier. And why I wasn't still doing my yoga, I don't know why. I mean, and I miss it. I'm not nearly as limber as I was. I can tell a difference just doing certain things. And so I think I'm going to make that a priority for this month to get back into my yoga, because I physically miss it and emotionally miss it.
Right. Well, and you touched on something very important there, because the thing about wellness and what we promote through CBD and cannabinoids is your well-being.
Yeah.
The pursuit is wellness. Well-being is the state that you attain to reach most consistently.
Right.
We can't all experience well-being and good health and happiness constantly. Life just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
And that's okay. As long as we do what we can and what we should.
Right.
We can't all quit our jobs, go climb a mountaintop and contemplate life and only eat organic foods. And that's part of wellness is dealing with the environment around you, the environmental constraints, the environmental benefits, and the societal things.
So besides yoga and working out in general and eating healthier foods, what are some other ways you can obtain wellness?
So wellness is actually not a body thing, a mind thing, a societal thing, a physical thing. It is actually all of those.
Right. Which makes sense.
Yeah. So
Getting sleep.
Yes. So
Huge.
The physical aspects would be exercise, diet, sleep, and body care. Right.
Sex involved that.
What do what?
Sex involves that.
100%.
I mean,
hey, it's statistically proven that if you are physically capable of sex, if the more, healthy sex you
true.
experience, healthy sex, not,
Yes. Right.
not sex addiction stuff, which would be a fun other podcast, but we're
We're
not going to stray.
going there.
And increases longevity, health, happiness, physical
Strengthens your
health, mental
relationships,
health,
which is always healthier too.
Yeah. If you got a partner out there, do it. Do it.
Right.
And if you don't have a partner, still do it. Just put a condom on.
Oh my God. Okay.
No, I'm
we
serious.
Went there. That's
I'm
true.
serious. Hey,
That's true. I know I'm a much happier person.
so
Just put that out there. Thanks, honey.
John, honey,
Yes. My husband, honey.
not me.
Hell no.
Yeah. Okay.
You're like that little annoying brother.
Moving along. So
I'm not into that house, the house of dragon.
So all of these components, by the way, are equally. There is no, this is like the tripod. There's no
Right.
one leg that's weaker than the other. The mental aspect of it is exercising your mind. I think for me personally, it starts with the body, because when I'm physically moving and physically active and physically healthy, my mind functions better. But then when your mind's functioning better, that means it's time to exercise your mind. You have to exercise your mind as much or more than you're exercising your body.
And I can tell with you when you haven't worked out, like you've taken a break, which is rare, but I can tell you're not quite there in the head. And you'll even say that. And I'm like, it's because you haven't worked out too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of
Probably.
interesting.
Yeah. So that means reading, contemplating. Puzzles are great for mental stimulation.
I like playing words with friends.
Conversation, something
Very
that is
competitive.
lost. People don't talk in it. People text now. There's not really a channeling. I'm going to throw this out, and I'm going to wait for somebody to throw something back, instead of a free flow dialogue like
Right.
what Dee Dee and I have
Right.
here, and what we have in our office every day. And it's an ebb and flow, but at the same time, that mental
Sometimes we
stimulation. But you know what? That is what causes mental stimulation. If you
Yep.
and if you are open to new opinions, new thoughts, that is going to expand your mind. Whatever. For those of you listening, Dee Dee's making bullshit faces, but we're going to ignore that, because
my way or the
I
highway.
experience proper wellness.
You do.
Next is the environmental. And when I say environmental, you have somewhat limited control over the environment you're in.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily get to choose exactly where we live. We don't necessarily get to choose how we live. We do get to choose how we respond to how we live, and how we respond to those circumstances. There's a Tolkien, I think, the guy that wrote The Hobbit, wrote, it's not our choice to choose the time we live in. It's our choice to make the best of how we live. I just probably butchered the shit out of that
you
quote,
probably did,
but
it's okay.
Anyway, you
I get it.
you get the thing.
Well, I think sometimes in, places that we've worked in the past, that has interfered with our happiness and our sense of well-being. I mean, you stressing out about your job puts everything else out of whack, and that's really hard for some people to not, one, take the work home with them and the stress home with them. I mean, I am so guilty of it.
Yeah.
I would worry to death over whether or not I filled in a date correctly on a form, and literally stress myself. And I'm a big stress person anyway, but that type A personality, and sometimes it's really hard for me to relax. Thank God for Delta 8 and Delta 9. But I think that can impose on your wellness as well, and that is an environmental stressor.
Well, and again, to go back to quotes, the definition would be creating a positive relationship with your environment including planetary health, your actions and consequences, which is pretty true because it's not just the environment we're in; it's the environment we create.
Correct.
Whether
it's home life or work life.
Yes, and how are we treating our environment? Are we just throwing plastic away inconsequently?
Right. Which we've talked about before.
Right. Are we just purchasing whatever, whenever? Are we going for the cheapest thing or the best thing for us?
Right.
That exists on so many levels. But anyway, beyond the environmental, you then have emotional, which is understanding your emotions, dealing with your emotions, seeking the origin of your emotions. And we cover emotions a lot in this podcast, but emotions are a funny thing because they're actually just a residual of our evolution.
Makes sense.
Back when we had instincts, we had to know when to run, when to fight, when to defend, when to retreat, when to take ownership, when to give up ownership, all for procreation and the pursuit of continued life. That was
Right.
that was on a survival basis.
Right.
So now that we've evolved to these sentient beings and created this consciousness that we all experience and live in, emotions are the same at their core, but they've changed in that they're residual memories, they're residual thoughts. And as our brains evolved, our emotions haven't evolved with our brains. So I think a lot of the issues with the human condition is not being able to let go of a lot of thoughts, memories, experiences that cause us to hold on to these emotions that are really just
I agree with that.
just an echo of our ancestry. And we do have the ability to walk away from them.
Right.
And I think a lot of it is experiencing the emotion, but then asking yourself, where is this coming from? Is this coming from the situation at hand, or is this coming from and I hate this word more than anything, but a trigger of a past experience? And am I now dealing with this experience irrationally due to the emotion that it's unconsciously evoked in me?
I think that's definitely, that happens a lot.
It's a huge part of well-being.
Well, my thing is worry. So I worry about everything, right? And I read this quote. It says, worry is an unknown debt that you do not yet need to pay. And it's something, a quote kind of like that. But I kind of think about that when I start worrying, and I obsessively worry, especially if I don't take my CBD oil. Oh my God, it's bad. Like, it's really bad. Like, I lose sleep. And then that in turn makes my other emotions worse, makes my anxiety worse, and just kind of snowballs from there. And then I want to eat because that's how I deal with stress. I eat shit that I should not be eating, which then in turn hurts my well-being as well because I know that shit's not good for me. So then I stress out about that. So my number one goal is to not worry about everything. Things will happen as they happen. You know what I mean? And that is one thing that I've really been working on lately. Lately, especially. I mean, I got away for a few days last week just to decompress. I spent some time with my brother. He and I always have a good time. I mean, for crying out loud, we literally walked through the Newport Aquarium, and it was so much fun. I felt like a kid. You know what I mean? Seeing all those fish and everything. It was a lot of fun, and I needed that. I mean, I came back, I'm like, hell yeah, I feel good. So and makes a big difference.
It's a good point because, in my opinion, recreation is such an essential part of wellness, and it really covers which we haven't gone through all the factors yet,
Right.
but recreation fits into all the facets of wellness. And, it kind of gets into this whole, medical marijuana thing where it's like, oh, okay, well, when you look at marijuana or specifically THC as a quote unquote medicine, you're looking at it from the non-wellness perspective of this person has an illness or the pathogenic to quote the pathogenic aspect of we need to treat something versus we need to prevent something.
Right. And truly all THC use is medicinal. I mean, it truly is in one form or another for your wellness.
Are you looking at it from the pathogenic philosophy or the cell youth?
Yeah.
I don't.
I think
I love that word too. I'm gonna drill that word into my head till I
anything. I
remember
think
it.
anything used medicinally, THC in general, I think is just it is helpful for your entire well-being.
Salutogenic.
There you go. I wouldn't be able to
great
pronounce
word.
it. I have that worst
I'm
pronunciation.
probably not saying it right.
You can correct us, listeners.
No,
I
you
like
can't.
it. I like it when he gets corrected too.
I'm never wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And I don't have a big butt.
so then next would be the spiritual aspect of it. Spiritual, not being religious per se. Well, spirituality and religion are two different things, and the
Right.
core of that being you can be spiritual without embracing dogmatic principles.
Right.
I personally believe that you should believe whatever you want to believe, as long as it is in the promotion of positivity and light. And I think that if you practice those practices, because all those core faiths, be them based in dogmatic principle or a spiritual foundation, I truly believe, I don't know, but I believe that the afterlife, whatever it is, will take care of itself if you live a good life in this life, or you do the best you can to live a good life in this life. Pursue wellness. Pursue
I'm hoping
logos.
reincarnation exists because I want to come back as a
You
fat,
will,
happy
and
house cat.
maybe, but
What's
even,
my rub on my
but
belly
even
and
if,
feed
but
me?
even at that level, that I believe that most reincarnationists or whatever you would call them, what you're reincarnated as is a direct reflection of how you lived your previous life.
Well, I've loved my
So
cats
it's
pretty
all,
well.
it all kind of flows to the same thing,
Yeah, I always think that we have had past lives, and it's like every new life you are trying to do a better job than you did your last one. This is weird,
Groundhog Day,
right? Kind of, but I feel I was a man and I was a mailman in my previous life.
Really?
I have dreams of driving the mail truck all the time. It's the weirdest thing. I've never done it, not in this life. So where do you have that kind of reminiscent type thing?
I was a shameless slut.
Oh, you still are. What are you talking about? You're still in that life.
I know, yet I'm monogamous. It's amazing. I don't know how. That's somehow.
Oh, poor Katie.
Yeah, I know. She's a saint.
Yes, she is.
So the last component would be, well, actually, we already covered that, environmental. So the core aspects of wellness are physical, taking care of your body, exercising your body to the best of your ability, mental, taking care of your mind, thinking good, positive thoughts, but at the same time, keeping yourself stimulated, which includes thinking for yourself, not being a sheep, not just doing what you're told.
Right.
And I know I sound so, condescending when I say that like that, but I really just want
Not
people to
necessarily.
wake up, and I really, really want people to think for themselves, because when I see it, and I see it in myself, it's difficult. It's difficult for me not to be hard on myself. It's difficult for me not to be hard on others when I'm like, you're just following what you were told. You're just literally reciting orders. And I understand it's our nature because we're social beings. Arguably, everything we know is based on the society that
Right.
we're surrounded by. But that society is being influenced, and
It's important
you have to think for
question
yourself.
that kind of stuff.
Well, all thought, it originates from a single thought. I mean, even if you believe in the 100th monkey
Right.
Philosophy, which is a story I think I've already said about the islands where they were feeding the monkeys, and the monkeys learned how to wash the
Right.
sweet potatoes off. And as soon as the 100th monkey on this island learned how to wash the sweet potatoes, all the monkeys on all the islands simultaneously, it was like this thought just became a universal consciousness. Anyway, not going to get
Definitely
too
wash
into
your
that.
sweet potatoes.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is it all started with that one monkey washing off the sweet potatoes. So
Makes
you
sense.
be that monkey, be that
Yeah.
first one.
Right.
Think that thought.
like
Emotional. All these things are so difficult, and that's why it's a constantly evolving pursuit. It's not static.
Correct. Well, wellness in general is constant. You have to constantly be working on it. You just don't do it one day and then you're well, and then the next day you don't.
And be willing to accept failure. Like I consider myself a follower of a Tao philosophy. I have, but at the same time, one of my mentors, I jokingly refer to myself, and now he jokingly refers to me as a shitty Buddhist, because essentially that's what I am.
I see that.
I do my best, but I fail every day. But every day I try to do a little better.
As long as you keep trying. I think that's the goal. I know, everybody talks about that COVID-15 or COVID-30 in my respects.
What's COVID-30? Oh, the
30,
weight?
The weight.
Oh, my God.
So, shit happens.
You're you're wrapped up on weight today.
No, not really. I've done that journey too with the whole weight thing. And I am working on the weight within with Margie Odom. She's been phenomenal, a therapist. And with my group, that has really put a lot of things into perspective. I don't concentrate on the weight as much. It's more about being healthy.
Yes.
The weight, I can be any weight and even a lower weight and not be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So
very true.
Yeah. So I really just try to eat my fruits, try to eat my vegetables. If I want a freaking ice cream every now and again, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's more about the healthy side to things and trying to love my body as it is. And that in and of itself is where the wellness happens for me, because if not, and I'm so hard on myself, what do you think that does to my emotions?
What does it do to your wellness?
Exactly.
It unravels.
Exactly. And I know I'm not the only woman out there that deals with this. I mean, I have...
Or man.
Yeah, or men, yeah. I mean, I have literally struggled with my weight my entire life, and it wasn't until my 40s that I'm just like, fuck that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My husband loves me the way I am. He's always, when I do lose weight, he's like, don't lose your ass. Well, I mean, so he does. I'm not kidding you.
Well,
but I mean, I think you can be healthy and be a little bit overweight, and you can be unhealthy and be skinny as a rail.
And you can lose it and get it back, and lose it again and get it back. So there's been several times in my life I was an athlete, and then I wasn't an athlete, and then I was an athlete again. And then I wasn't, usually due to injury or whatever circumstance. But that's a hard thing to get back into the gym when you're 30 pounds heavier. And,
exactly.
And, you're seeing some of the same people that saw you when you were in peak physical condition, bodybuilding show worthy, and then you're a blob.
Right?
Yes.
But you're doing it.
That's what you need to overcome.
Exactly. And my whole point to that is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a while. I mean, the therapy that I do, it is amazing. And we do it group wise. So you get to hear other people's perspectives and they give, insight. And I think that has been the most helpful thing for me. Knowing that, one, I'm not the only person out there. And two, it's okay to get back on the wellness side as long as, and asking for help. It's okay. Yep. Anybody, people do the things that they do to help others. Yep. That's why we got in the business we got into, to help people with hemp and CBD products and cannabis. Yep. I mean, that's why Margie does her thing with the Weight Within and helps, people like myself that are struggling just to accept themselves because of being overweight. And like I said, that's been a lifelong journey for me. And, again, in my 40s, I'm finally like, if you don't like me, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
If you don't like me because of my weight, that's what you're going to harp on. Because I got a big personality and I love people. Yeah. So for someone not to like me just because I'm a little overweight, bite me. I don't need you in my life anyway.
Cool.
So it takes a while to get to that. But that is the overall wellness that we have to just continue to work on.
Yep. So then to kind of round this out, then, again, we've got the spiritual. And again, even if you're an atheist, it's I attribute the spiritual as working with your environment, your surroundings, how you deal with conscious reality, and how you choose to be as a person. To me, that's spiritual.
Yeah. How you treat others.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then we've got social. which flows into it's funny how all these things just flow right into
It makes
to
perfect
the next,
sense.
and environmental, where how are you going to react to your environment? How are you going to deal with your environment? How's your environment going to deal with you? Interesting concept now that we've had these storms brewing, which no one can deny is a direct result of global warming. So now we have the 1
But there's
percenters.
still deniers.
We have the 0.0001 percenters having their homes destroyed, of which I know several. I don't know that it's karma, but it's what will this open some eyes? It's an interesting question. It's certainly a tragedy, and I feel terrible
I do too.
for everyone who's down there suffering right now. But I'm hoping it's a wake up call for some people.
It doesn't just hit the 0.1 percenters too. It hits a lot of people that.
But if anything good comes of it, I hope that those people that have had their $80 million homes knocked down, maybe
Knock
they'll
them
say,
down on the
"Hey,
high horse a little
wow,
bit."
this actually affects me." So
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Unless something affects them, they don't do anything about it.
right.
So yeah,
No, most people don't.
most people. I agree.
That's not the
I agree with
0.001%.
that.
That's
that
most
is
human
people.
beings.
Yep. Well, don't affect me.
That's
I don't
how
have to
you
worry about
lull.
it.
That's how you lull people to sleep. The Brottenspiel of philosophy. Am I fed? Am I entertained?
Yep.
If the answer is yes and yes, people can do almost whatever they want.
That's true.
Unless you're awake and conscious, you're part of that. So,
Agreed.
well, anyway, I hope that we have opened your eyes on wellness.
As always.
And expanded your mind.
Yep. Follow us on all the socials. And we do have that new Facebook page, 502 Wellness Center. We had to take out the hemp. They completely shut that down. And God only knows, I don't believe we'll ever get it back. But we are still on Instagram for now. I'm sure we're walking that little tightrope with them. I don't do much on TikTok. I think it's a waste of time. Personally, sorry. I do.
I think it's hugely entertaining.
It can be. It is.
I like to try.
Don't get me wrong.
I like to try to see where the algorithms take me.
Oh my!
You know.
I get a lot of thirst traps, so apparently that's where I
what's
go.
What's a thirst trap?
I'll tell you that offline.
No, well, okay.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening. As always, you all keep it hempy out there and reach out to us again. info@502hemp. You have questions or concerns or want to hear us talk about something specific. We are happy to do that. So be safe and take care of yourselves and each other.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Hemp and Happiness with the Hemp Queen
and Emperor.
Keep your mind ever open and expanding. Like, subscribe, review, follow us, all the good stuff. And
keep it hempy out there.